All right, so we're reviewing lesson 3-3. This is about the third time. Slope intercept form. It should be very much of a review. So remember slope intercept form as y equals mx plus b. And so in these first three problems, all you're going to do is you are going to write down what the slope is, which is m, and what the y-intercept is, which is b. Okay, so the slope in this equation, if this is y equals mx plus b, your m is 1/3, or your slope is 1/3, and your y-intercept is -5/4. Okay, so you're going to do this for all of your examples. All right. And I think someone just, all right, so what is our slope for example 2?
Negative 5x.
Negative
5x.
-5. And our y-intercept?
0.
0. Number 3, what is our slope?
0.
0, because there's no x there.
I'm just not.
And our y-intercept is 7. There we go. Okay, easy. Okay, now we're going to the next section. Write an equation of the line with the given slope and the y-intercept. So we're just going to pull these two pieces of information out and plug them into the equation.
Oh, yeah, that should be easy. So y equals negative 3x minus 7.
There you go. Good. Okay, but what about number 5?
So it would be y equals 8.
Yes. So some of you might want to put 0x plus 8, and you can, but since 0 times any number is going to be 0 and 0 plus 8 is 8, really all you have to do is y equals 8.
Oh.
All right, look at number 6. Everybody, I'm going to give you 5 seconds to write number 6.
5 seconds?
Yeah. Okay, stop, please. So you should have y equals x or 1x plus 1. There you go.
Let's go.
Okay, so for the next section, we're going to look at the graph and we're going to try to pull out the necessary information for your slope intercept. You still need the same two pieces of information, the slope and the intercept. So down here, I'll just put my slope and then I'll find them on the graph. Now, the easiest one for me is to find the y-intercept wherever it crosses this y-axis right here. So where does this line cross the y-axis? At 1 right here. Okay. Then the next thing that I want to do, I can plot a point at the y-intercept, and then I need to plot another point somewhere along the line where it crosses an intersection. So I'm going to choose this right here. It's the closest one. And then I'm going to use rise over run to find my slope. So I'm rising 2 and running 1. So my slope is 2. So then that means my equation is y equals 2x plus 1. Okay. All right. We're going to do the same thing for example 8. What is the y-intercept?
I don't know.
I don't know why.
What?
Oh.
You forgot what? So this is your y, and yes, it crosses the y-axis at -5. And what is our slope of a horizontal line? 0. So how are we going to write this?
Y equals -5.
So this is undefined, right?
No.
No, undefined is one of the vertical.
Vertical, so this is 0. Okay, it's 0.
Yeah.
Horizontal.
Okay. I want you guys to try example 9 on your own. Okay, you should have gotten 4 for the y-intercept and -0.5 for the slope. Okay, so y equals -1/2 x plus 4. Okay, Any questions? All right, let's move on to 10 through 12. Again, slope-intercept form. What are the two pieces of information we need for slope-intercept equation?
The
Slope and the intercept. That's why it's called slope-intercept. So we are given 2 points, and we need to find the slope first. How do we find the slope of 2 points? And x2 minus x1. How many of you will put your points into a table before you, okay. Okay, you're not the only one. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and write my table, but if you don't need it, you don't have to use it. So I just put my x and my y, and then I plug my 2 ordered pairs in there. And I do y2 minus y1. And x2 minus x1. Equals. So 1/3 should be your slope. Now we need to find we found our slope. Now we need our y-intercept. Can anyone tell me how we can figure it out with this problem?
When you,
Yeah, the answer is 4. We don't even have to do any work for this one because they give us the intercept right here. If I were to plot this, it would be at 4 up here on the graph. It's actually very similar to this one right here. So we have our m as 1/3, our y-intercept b as 4. So we're just going to write this as y equals 1/3 x plus 4. Now, the next two aren't this easy because we have to find the y-intercept a different way.
can we just do the same thing as we did with this one?
To find slope, yes.
Yeah,
You're talking about the y-intercept.
yeah, plus the.
No, not,
the easy version.
no, we don't have, there's not an easy version for the next two. So I want you guys to find the slope of number 11 first. Okay, when you're done finding the slope, check up here to see if this is what you got. -1.
Go ahead and do a pretty good job.
Okay, now to find the y-intercept, we have to choose a point and the slope and plug it into the equation and solve for b. So our equation, y equals mx plus b. We're going to choose 3, 2,
Why?
just because they're both positive.
What you want to do, a negative?
No.
3 represents your x in the equation, 2 represents your y in the equation, and we've solved for m here. And so when we plug those 3 numbers in, we're just left with b, trying to figure out what b is. So y is 2, our slope is -1, and x is 3. And we solve. And so this is what you should have gotten. March, where are we going? Okay, now we're gonna do the next one, and I'm just gonna say right now, if you struggle with integer operations or fraction operations, some of these problems are gonna be very, very challenging. You need to know how to add and subtract fractions that don't have the same denominator. So I'm gonna go a little bit slow on this one, but I want you to try to process and understand the steps that I'm doing. And I might need extra paper because this will take a little bit more space. So here we go. The first step is finding slope. So I'm gonna have -2 minus 2 over -2 minus 10. Go ahead and finish that and then check up here to make sure you got the same thing I did.
Oh, it's like we got the same answer as example 10. Like for 1/3, something like that.
So this is different.
Yeah, I know.
Oh.
It's just a coincidence.
Yes, it's just a coincidence. Okay. Anyone still working on the slope? Okay, now we're going to plug a point and the slope into the equation. Does anyone have a particular preference for the point we use? 10, 2.
I was about to say that, yes.
10, 2. They're both positive. So let's go ahead and choose 10, 2, where 10 is our x and 2 is our y. So
So would it be
I like to write out the blank equation first and then fill in my numbers. So we have 2 equals our slope of 1/3 times 10 plus b. Now, if you struggle with fraction operations, I'm going to show you what we're doing with 1/3 and 10. Okay, and then when you multiply 1/3 times 10, for some reason, I'm finding that students are wanting to cross multiply on here, and I'm not exactly sure why. But when you have fractions and you're multiplying, all you do is multiply straight across. And if you have a whole number, always put it over 1. So this ends up being 1 times 10 and 3 times 1. So you end up with 10/3. Okay? So I will write this as 2 equals 10/3 plus b. Huh? Oh, are you just thinking out loud? Okay, so now we have to isolate the b, which means we have to get rid of this 10/3. So I'm going to subtract 10/3 from both sides. Now this is where people grumble here. So you're getting rid of it here. And now on a piece of scratch paper, I'm going to show you how I solve 2 minus 10/3. So it starts off like this. Okay. Now what should I do with my whole number?
Oh, so we need to think over one.
Put it over 1. So I'm going to rewrite it with 2 over 1. I'm just trying to write it a little bit bigger. If you have space on there, then you can. Then what do I do?
We just do 2 minus 3 and 1/3.
You could, if you can process that. So Andrew is correct. You need to find common denominators. So my common denominator is going to be 3. So I need to change this one to a 3. And the way that I could do that is multiply this by 3. And if I multiply the denominator by 3, I multiply the numerator by 3. And then I rewrite my problem. That's 6/3 minus 10/3. And now I can solve because my denominators are the same. 6 minus 10, -4. And my denominator stays the same. So if you are struggling with this, you may want to come to help class and we could go over how to subtract fractions.
So I simplify the 4/12. So, and I got same answer.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. You don't have to. -4/3 equals b. So my answer for this is y equals 1/3 x minus 4/3. Okay.
That's what it is, Mom.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Let's move to the back of 3-3. Okay, these are just simple graphing equations. You always want to plot your y-intercept first and then graph your slope. So if we look at this first equation, what is our slope? 1. And what is our y-intercept? -3. So let's plot our y-intercept first at -3. And then we're going to graph our slope. Our slope is just 1 over 1, and it's positive. So we're going to go in this direction. And then you could draw your line. I've lost my ruler. We'll use this one. Okay, and that's what your line should look like. It's okay. You really only need 2 points to graph a line. Okay, so the slope for number 14 is what? Negative 1/4, and your y-intercept? Okay, so what are we gonna plot first?
-7.
Yes, on the y-intercept. Now, I think I told you guys this on our other class. How am I, or I went over this, but how am I going to graph my slope?
Drop 1, run 4.
AJ?
You're gonna have to go, instead of going like up, how do you explain it? Like,
Tell me the directions.
Before you go to the left one, right?
yeah,
Drop
no,
one,
you go
run
down
4.
one and go to the left 4.
Okay, so yes,
Yo,
up 1 and to the left 4. But what happens if I go down 1
And then you have to go down 1, right?
and right 4? Right. So either direction, just make sure one of them is negative if you have a negative slope, or that it's going in the negative direction, which is up and to the left. Okay. There you go. All right. I want you guys to graph 15 and 16 on your own, and then we will be done with lesson 3 review. Okay, so
That was it. That was.
this concludes lesson 3.
no, we got it.
Let me see.